God, Richrod's so happy with the performance today of his running backs that he's talking about going back to the portal. And Pat McAfee's talking about like game day is already decided and it's going to be in Morgantown. What the hell?
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby. Well, we're talking about the Mountaineers again today. Some good, some bad, some ugly for sure. Appreciate you guys for being here as we jump in. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Drip Drop. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I've got my Drip Drop. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to https://dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Let me tell you guys, this is no lie. I got a box of the Drip Drop stuff. It's really good. It's low sugar. It's 0 calorie. It's super, super flavorful. Like it's the packets. Oh my God. I was shocked, man. Cause they sent, how am I going to promote it if I don't try it? Right. So they sent it to me. It's good. I don't really like that kind of stuff usually. So honest to God, good. So I would recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff, if you like carrying around the mugs or the thermoses or the, like the little Stanleys or whatever. I don't do that, but if you're a girl, maybe you do that. I don't know. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. And let's dive right in. So, Richrod's press conference today was not sunshine and rainbows at all. As a matter of fact, 3 of the 5 running backs fell out of practice, y'all. Only 2 running backs finished practice. He was not happy about that at all. I've been doing some digging as to find out who that was. I haven't found out just yet. I tried. I do know one of the players that finished, but I've been asked not to reveal it. So, but it wasn't like anybody that would for me. It's not a shock. I think this kid, it makes sense that he would be in this good shape, be good of shape. I think, if we're just trying to deduce, like if you're asking me to guess, I'm going to guess that Jaheim White he's probably struggling with some conditioning right now because he's coming off surgery. Look at all the muscle he's put on. So I won't be shocked if Jaheim is one of the players that didn't finish today. But here's the shocking part. Rich Rodriguez is threatening to go into the transfer portal as a result of this. No lie. It's not even and he was dead serious. So, obviously not just running back room. He's talking about everywhere all around. Like he said, listen, there's still a bunch of players in there. We were scouting it right now. I was like, wow, what a revelation, you'd think they were pretty much done and buttoned up, but no, like this is still very much open. And could it be the way for him to motivate his players through the media? Sure, it happens all the time. I'm not dumb enough to, of course I'm not stupid. So like, I understand that, but at the same time, there's still some players in the portal. Maybe they have eligibility issues. Maybe they have character issues, but there's still some guys in the portal that might want to bounce their head off the wall for you if they can get on a Power 4 roster. Yeah. Like LA Knight would say, yeah. So found it to be very interesting, man. Nobody's job is safe right now. The practices are being held to a certain standard. And as you can tell, it's press conference season, right? It's press conference season. If you can't tell, because I've got my pilot pen, I've got my notepad, and I just sit here and make notes, like it's one of my favorite things to do. Is therapeutic. So I've definitely got a lot of notes on what was said today. I think Some of it can be taken with a grain of salt. It's practice number 2, right? So there's that, right? But here. Let's just go through some bullet points that I made to kind of wrap up everything that was said. My overall practice reactions are this. Day one was very positive. Obviously, he was, the Richrod was surprisingly positive after the first day of fall camp or August camp or training camp, whatever. I'm just going to start calling it training camp if I can remember. He was really about the effort well and sounded pretty genuinely happy with what happened on Wednesday. But Thursday, unfortunately, disappointment set in as he said it was a step back. He said the team was soft at times and that it wasn't the improvement we needed. And he opened his press conference by saying that today we took steps back. That was the first thing he said. There were effort and toughness issues. He said the lack of hard edge effort, especially since conditions were mild outside, shorts, nice weather. He addressed that. And he's emphasizing basically that the toughness is not there. It's not innate. It must be shown consistently. He said he's not discouraged. He's just disappointed. Um, he said, you know, the hard edge attributes that are required to do this are still present in the team, but they weren't evident today on day 2. Everybody has bad days for sure, but it's telling when you do. And what does your bounce back look like? Bad days happen even for great teams, he said. But Richrod says that coaches use those bad days to elevate the team, right? So we'll see if that happens. Richrod did say there were some personalities emerging in the team, which could reflect either the promising Wednesday start or possibly some of the positive that happened today during Thursday. Exception, rule, rarity, reality. I think those are all going to determine the team's identity going forward, which matters significantly. The running back specifics only 2 running backs finished the entire practice without tapping out or needing medical attention. So basically the way it's going on, I was told by a guy, is practice is going on. And if you've got a medical issue, because think about a cook, what happened with him, right? Like if there wasn't medical staff available right then and there, he could have died from cardiac arrest, right? Thank God there was. A similar situation happened last year at practice that I don't think a lot of people know about with Jaden Stone. We can talk about it now since they're all gone. But Jaden Stone, the reason he didn't play last year is because he had a very serious injury in practice, head injury, from what I understand. Fell and hit his head, went to major seizures. And unfortunately, that's why he didn't play last year. It's why I was so defensive over him, because people would say, what the hell is he doing here? Why isn't he playing? And like they didn't realize that I think he went up for something and then just came down on his head on the floor. And it just, like, you remember if you've ever watched and this is how it was described to me. I didn't see it personally, but it was described to me like, okay, Tua Tagovailoa, right? Whenever he had those big concussions for the Dolphins, how he just kind of like locked up, like it's just like the body goes into like a big seizure, like a big, basically like a big tense muscle. So, that's what happened with him, but it was really bad. Lasted a long time. They didn't think he was going to make it. Like that's how bad it got. It traumatized. I was told by a certain player, it traumatized everybody there. Like they couldn't go on practice over it. Like they had to shut everything down. So obviously that was a rough one. So point is, I'm a little off track, but there's like probably a dozen athletic trainers around the field at all times. It's hot outside. A guy could have a heart issue in a minute. A guy could have a stroke in any minute. Like there are a lot of things, right? So you want to have these amenities available to people, but also there's sort of a temptation, right? Let's say I need a break, or I'm out of breath, or I'm lazy, or I'm out of shape, or whatever. Oh, I'm having a cramp. I'll run over to the trainer, right? Oh, give me some stretching, or oh, I'm having a chest problem, chest issue, like whatever the issue may be. And Richrod is, and nobody's going to know 100% of the time. Maybe there are guys that actually needed it, but also he can tell the guys that do it all the time or that do it every day, right? Like there's patterns within people. If Jaheim White goes today and never goes back again, well, he's probably really not feeling good that moment in time, right? He probably wasn't just using it as an excuse to get out of conditioning. This is what he is talking about when describing people tapping out of practice. So basically, people are using the trainers around the field as a reason to go stretch or whatever you want to say, but to get out of conditioning. I would have been one of the people that did this for sure. Like I was never great at like long distance running until I got in the Marines. Then I was, but that's because they make you. You just have no choice. You carry around 80 pounds of gear and you run miles and miles and miles. You're eventually going to get in good shape or you're going to die. One of the two. Um, I think about this a lot. I'm really glad I went to boot camp in the wintertime sometimes. I mean, we got challenged for sure. Like it was still very hard um from a conditioning standpoint, but gosh, the heat, I couldn't imagine being down south during the heat in South Carolina like that. All right, let's get to these other bullet points really quick. He said it was hard to run offense with limited running backs available today. And he said he noted that he can always improvise, right? Quarterback, slot receiver, etc. But he prefers having running backs. He's always had good running backs. He said, he believes he's got a good group of running backs, but stressed the need for them to finish drills. Obviously, they're awaiting clearance for Ty Edwards, so he can't help while he's sidelined. He's over there having to work out on his own. And so with the trainers, that's what people were doing. So he talked about the portal as a serious option. He said, look, there's still 4,000 kids in the portal. I got a spot or two open. So nobody's safe here. I think he brought it up the first day kiddingly. I don't think today was a joke. I think it escalated to this. I think this, if you see it happen, we'll find out, I guess. But obviously the West Virginia's brought a ton of players in. The last thing we need is more, but he will. His interesting thoughts on leadership continue to not baffle me necessarily, but you always hear how some of the best teams are player-led teams, and Richrod shuts any of that talk down for the most part. I think he believes in player-led teams when the coaches aren't around, but when the coaches are around, he's the top dog. He's the guy that's going to be calling everything, like every little thing, right? So that's just his belief. I think it's definitely possible. Zack Ally also had a lot to say, guys. He had his own press conference too. His is a little more positive. We'll go to break and talk about what Zack Ally had to say, but even more importantly, Pat McAfee's talking about game day like it's already decided, y'all. I'm not kidding here. No joke, no lie, no tease. I'm starting to think, actually, I'm almost convinced, unless we lose a game, I think the game day is going to be in Morgantown this year. I'll explain why next. We'll talk about it next. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Drip Drop. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's with workouts, long days on campus, or etc., how about staying focused through back-to-back classes? That's always tough. Well, hydration is where it all starts, y'all. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything is a little bit better. It works better, right? My energy's better. My mood's better. My focus is better. Even my skin is better. But getting in fluids every day is not always easy. Who wants to pound 3 gallons of water a day? That's why I've been loving Drip Drop. I told you guys it's very delicious too, man. It's a doctor-developed, scientifically proven for fast hydration. It makes it happen quickly. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and some glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of any leading sports drink you can name. And I looked on the back of this. It's pretty well true. So, I love these drinks. Like I'm going to have to buy some more because I've tried a ton of these electrolyte type drinks. I'm somebody that stays dehydrated a lot. A lot of that has to do with his job, and I'm more sedentary than I'd like to be. So nothing tastes good or works as fast as Drip Drop that I've tried so far, and I don't think anything's going to come close, to be honest. So I've always, from now on, like I keep a few packets around, like in certain places throughout the house or in my pocket. If I go somewhere, I'll buy a water, dump one in. Really good. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head over to dripdrop.com and use promo code Locked On College. And don't do it now, y'all. I need you to do it yesterday. You get me? What's going on here? It's not letting me move my clicker, my mouse clicker. Everything's frozen. What the hell's going on? That's weird. Huh. Well, it's letting me do that at least, but it won't let me. Interesting. I haven't had this happen before. Let me try it like this. Yeah, I don't know. At least we can still talk, I guess. All right, so that's really strange. It wouldn't let me do my little quick cut back in, but whatever. For those of you listening on podcast, I have a button I need to push for when we go in or when we go out of a screen. And for whatever reason, it won't scroll down, like nothing will scroll. So I wasn't able to go from my normal. I just need to start using my Steam Deck, I guess. All right, it's segment 2. Let's crack open a do, guys, because I want to talk about a couple different things. Zack Ally, first of all, we want to talk about that. And then GameDay, Matt McAfee, man. Is it true? Is it possible? Is it really true? I think it is. Let's get there. So, first of all, Zack Ally, just wanted to go through a couple of things he said today. He said that there were a few outliers during today's practice and described it as average as far as practices he's been a part of in his career, but better than the previous days in terms of communication and talking among players. So that's a big deal because he coaches the linebackers where that's a big thing. Another thing that he said, the defense has gotten 3 turnovers to both practices in a row so far. That's something to continue to monitor, both for the offense and the defense. Like, do we hope it continues or do we hope it stops? I think we hope it continues. Here's why I say that. I think our offense is going to be explosive enough, good enough by the time it starts to click that we're going to be okay. And you know, you can always you can win with bad offense. You can't win with bad defense. We've seen it too many times now. So if I have my choice between in year one, whether the offense is top 50 or the defense is top 30 or 40, I'm going to pick the defense, right? And the offense can be mediocre, right? Like, even if I think we can get up to, I think if we can get to, if the defense is as good as I think it can be, if we can score between 21 and 25 points a game in year one, I think we'll be okay. Bowl eligible, okay. Obviously. Now, if we can get up into the 30s, I think with this defense that we have, I told you guys the last couple of days, I think our defense is going to be a lot better than people realize. We've got 2 of the best corners in the Big 12. We've got a safety that I really believe in Jordan. And then Justin Harrington, if his waiver comes through, that changes things a lot. Darren, I mean, look, I love a few of these guys, man. Like, I start to look around it. Like, I really like our secondary a lot. It's not as deep as I would like, but as far as starters go, we got some dogs back there, and that's not even including Fred Perry, who most people would consider the number 1 pick that we picked up. I don't know if that's the case because, like, in the secondary, some people would say Coates, some people would say Perry. I think it's definitely a good problem to have that both of them are so good. 3 turnovers, 2 practices in a row. That's probably another reason Richrod's super pissed, right? So there's that. He talked about the transfers bringing more athleticism to the table. He talked about the linebacker room being very improved. So Chase Wilson, Ashton Woods, John Lewis, Ben Bogle. The room has definitely been elevated. No doubt about it, y'all. We can't deny it. So I'm excited, man. I think at the end of the day, you know, we may as well just go ahead and accept the fact that this defense is going to be better. I mean, definitely better than last year, but I think it's going to be better than average defense for sure. Like, I am not blowing smoke, man. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. I really don't. So let's go to break one more time. You know, since we're right here at this 20-minute mark, we might as well do it. On the other side, though, Pat McAfee, man. He's my guy. You know, we love talking about Patty Mac. Oops, sorry about that. Let me try to see if I can. This page is just screwed. It won't let me do anything. There we go. All right, now I think I got something. All right, let me just put that up. Okay. So on the other side of the break, Patty Mac is talking about game day coming to Morgantown, and it doesn't sound like a talking point as much as a prediction, or like it's like he's trying to almost cover it up that, like, in my opinion, he's talking about it like it's going to happen. And why would he continue to talk about it if ESPN knew they weren't going to do it, they would have shut him down and he just wouldn't bring it up anymore, right? In my opinion. I think they're trying to build momentum for it. We'll see next. All right, guys, we are back here in Locked On West Virginia. And, man, let's get over here to Pat McAfee's show and see what he had to say about freaking playing the backyard brawl in Morgantown this year.
I thought about if game day was to go to Pitt, West Virginia, which is week 3. Mm-hmm. I think both teams need to do their shit the first couple weeks so we can make that happen. I think that'll be an incredible scene. Obviously, will showcase a rivalry that hasn't been showcased in a while and deservedly needs a spotlight and attention. 2 football places taking each other on in a big way. Luke Combs actually came out. I think he was up at Barstow, Chicago, and he was asked, hey, what rivalry doesn't get talked about enough? And he said the backyard brawl, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, because I think he's been to both games in Morgantown and in Pittsburgh for that. So if we're able to get to that, that would be great. And I thought about it last night. I was sort of like, there's a good chance we get to that game, especially if you look at the schedule before then. And then I thought, how are they going to handle the eat shit Pitt chance? Like the ESPN.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Let it fly.
Because that'll be the entire.
It's 2025. Let it fly.
I think so, too.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be some suit back there.
I think I can actually see it.
So here's the thing, guys. Yeah, he is definitely saying if and maybe, like, I get it. He's definitely not saying, like he's not, but I feel like at this point, it's been said so much that I'm just having trouble believing that it's not going to happen. Like, why would they continue to let him talk about this if it wasn't at least very much on the table? I think that as long as West Virginia and Pitt win both their game, both first 2 games, I think 1,000% you see game day in Morgantown, even over some of the games that are enormous on that week 3. And there are some big ones, guys. I went and looked. Let's share the screen because this is definitely not fun, but I mean, let's look at it. We've got some big contenders for week 3, y'all, unfortunately. So it's a lot of games to look at, but we're going to go through them quickly as soon as I get there. Okay, week 3 is 16. Here we go. All right, so obviously that's not one. NC State, Wake Forest, Indiana State, Indiana, Colgate, Syracuse, Houston, Colorado is a sneaky good game, but not game day. Kansas State, Arizona, I'm sorry. New Mexico, UCLA, Southern Utah and Fresno State, Arkansas, Ole Miss is a fun game, but definitely not game day. Memphis, Troy, Vandy, South Carolina, Wisconsin, and Alabama is a candidate, right? That's definitely a candidate for game day. Samford and Baylor, HCU and Nebraska. I have no clue who that is. Towson and Maryland. Those are two teams close together. Oklahoma, Temple, Clemson, Georgia, Texas. Sneaky good game. Oregon, Northwestern, Central Michigan and Michigan. Buffalo, Kent State, William and Mary, Virginia, South Alabama and Auburn, New Hampshire and Ball State, Norfolk State and Rutgers, Yukon and Delaware. Hold on, I got to say it the right way. Rutgers. Okay. Youngstown State and Michigan State, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Washington State, North Texas, SMU, Missouri State, USC, Purdue is a sneaky good game, Villanova and Penn State, Georgia and Tennessee. This is one of the main contenders, guys, and it's a huge game. I can't lie. There's no doubt. We could go down the rabbit hole of looking at Tennessee's first two games and Georgia's first two games. They have a chance to lose because I don't know which one each team plays, obviously, but that's a game that's going to be hard for the networks to say no to, and I get that. Incarnate Word and UTSA, Northwestern State, Cincinnati, Oregon State, Texas Tech is a sneaky, pretty good game. Maybe a little Oregon State, hey, I'm good enough to be in the Big 12 kind of game. Morgan State and Toledo. You know how people in Toledo talk? Have you ever been to Toledo? They got that really northern accent. I'll tell you a funny story about Toledo really quick. So we had a family friend that played for Bowling Green, Ohio, and in college football when I was young in the 90s. And he had this really northern accent. It's like, you know how the Minnesota or like the South Dakota, like they have that accent. Toledo's is a little bit more dirty, gravelly, right? And he called me one time and I picked up the phone. I was like 9. I picked up the phone for my, to see who it was. And he said, "It's Dine. It's Dine. It's done," and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, it's dying," because I thought, in West Virginia, we don't say dying. We say dying. We say, "Oh, I'm dying out here," right? So I thought his name is Don Sly. And he went, "Hey, it's me dying. I'm dying." Anyway, that's just West Virginia. You guys get it. All right. I know I'm corny at sometimes, but it's okay. It's hopefully what makes me a little bit likable. Richmond, UNC, Morgan State, Toledo, Louisiana, Missouri, Iowa State, Arkansas State, UTEP, Texas, South Florida, Miami is a sneaky good game. Definitely wouldn't mind watching some of that one. Liberty, Bowling Green, Middle Tennessee, Nevada, Alcorn State, the Fighting Jerry Rices, Mississippi State, Florida Atlantic, FIU, Merrimack and Kennesaw State, Monmouth, the alma mater of Miles Austin, Charlotte, the alma mater of who? Tykees Crawford, let's go. Eastern Kentucky and little brother, Marshall, Ohio and Ohio State. Now, if Ohio wins this game, you might as well just give me a Baja Blast and fire my ass into the sun, because I'm going to be scared to death if Ohio upsets Ohio State in week 1. I'm like, well, there goes the backyard brawl. No, they should get absolutely destroyed in that game because they've got so many transfers. Like, can you imagine starting with Ohio State? Here's another thing that kind of scares you. We're not going to be the best team they played by then, right? Ohio State is, for sure. We're nowhere close to Ohio State this year. App State, Southern Miss, Missouri, or Murray State, Georgia State, Old Dominion, and Virginia Tech. Two teams in the state of Virginia playing each other. Prairie View and Rice, the fighting former Rich Rodriguez's, and Georgia Southern at Jack State. That's not William Mary. That's who it is. WMU, Western Michigan. Okay, Western Michigan and Illinois. UMass and Iowa. That's a kind of an interesting. No, it's not. Eastern Carolina and Coastal Carolina, big rivalry game. Eastern Michigan and Kentucky, New Mexico State and Louisiana State. And here we go. Here are the two big games that are absolutely going to be in our way. Texas A&M and Notre Dame. I mean, and it's at Notre Dame, of course. That one's frustrating because, that's going to be tough for them to turn down from a rating standpoint. There's no way West Virginia Pitt comes close to that, or Florida LSU. Literally, they're Florida and LSU are you can make an argument they're each other's biggest rival. So that's a big time rivalry game. And but I mean, here's the thing: you got these two games, and what was the other one that I said? So you've got Texas A&M. So we need to root for any of these teams to lose a game, which likely isn't going to happen based on it being the early season. But you need Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Florida, LSU. You need two of those teams to lose a game. But even so, we still may get picked. But Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Georgia, and Tennessee, I feel like are the major players in this one. And there might be one, Wisconsin, Alabama. Those are the main four that could get in our way for sure. Pitt, West Virginia is definitely not the biggest matchup on that list from a brand standpoint. We get that. We understand that. Well, yeah, just because they start at different times, though, Kim, doesn't mean they can't. College game day can only go to one location. Doesn't matter what time the game starts. You go what I mean? So, Big Noon Kickoff gets a game. Fox gets a game with Big Noon Kickoff, and then ESPN gets one with College Game Day. They're both pretty big. Big Noon Kickoff has gotten a lot bigger lately. In recent years, like last year at West Virginia, it was huge. But I think what this game has with Pitt, West Virginia, that the other games don't have are the immense storylines. And I mean that every single immense. I mean, I think nationally and nostalgically for people, 13-9 represents either the best day of your life or the worst day of your life for either Pitt or West Virginia fans. Nationally, even Ohio State fans and LSU fans are going to remember it because they played each other as a result of West Virginia losing that game. There are people that in my age range, anywhere from 35 to 50 and beyond, will remember this game very vividly. Maybe 30. Let me see. How old was I? I guess, yeah, if you were 30 or old, if you're 30 or older, you definitely remember this game pretty well. I mean, it's, we're talking 18 years ago. So anytime in the last 10 to 12 years, I mean, maybe, I don't know. It depends on how long ago you started following college football. But generally speaking, I would say the youngest somebody would probably be 30 that would really remember this game, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, so there's a lot of people that remember this game. It's definitely, a top 50 game college football history. I think you can make a case. I remember where I was at. Where were you at? This will be a good question for down in the comments. Where were you at when the backyard brawl happened in 2007 between West Virginia and Pitt? Where were you at? What were you doing? I remember what I was doing. You'll never believe this, y'all. I'm transparent with you guys as always, and this is a long story, so I'll shorten it up. And this is just the truth, I was falsely accused of something, and I've told you guys in the past, like, did I steal the car? Yes. Did I do the drugs? Yes. Did I break into some houses and things whenever I was strung all the way out? Yes, I did. Am I proud of those things? Absolutely not. I will never glorify it. I feel like I paid my debt to society for those things. I try to do as good as I can and give people, but point is, I was in rehab at this point in time in 2007, believe it or not, at a very young age, because for whatever reason, one of my family members thought it would be a fun idea to lie and say I broke into their trailer. Unfortunately for me, and then they, not realizing that it would be a very serious charge, not just like, oh, he might go to jail, he might not. No, they charged me with a felony 2 burglary charge. and I didn't do it. Like that's probably the worst part about it. But I had recently in the past before that been in trouble for writing bad checks on my dad. So and I did do that. And so I think it was a case of everybody knew I had started to do drugs. And I think that it was a case of boy, you cried wolf, right? So even though I didn't do it, as a matter of fact, I was on my way home from donating plasma, which they would pay you $50 for. You could do it every 2 or 3 days. I would do it every 2 or 3 days. Like I can't tell you how many times I donated plasma just because I was strung out. But anyway, I'm not proud of any of this. This is a story to help you guys that I just had somebody reach out to me yesterday and say that these stories help them. And I get people that tell me this every day that they because of where I am now and where I was then, obviously it's a big change. And I'm glad to be all these years clean and I'm glad to be able to talk about this. But so I was in a community-based correctional facility called STAR. With structure, therapy, advocacy, and restoration, I can be a point of light in a world of darkness. Through grace comes opportunity. Structure defines responsible boundaries for my family and for my community. Therapy is the science of right thinking. I'm responsible for maintaining my own pro-social attitudes. Advocacy is to live the golden rule. I'll be an advocate for my family and for my community. Restoration is achieved through respect and compassion for others, my willingness to know what I value, and my willingness to share what I view. I will live each day with structure, therapy, advocacy, and restoration. With STAR, I will succeed. Guys, I haven't said that since 2007, but we said it 3 times a day in there. And I had to say that the very day that 13/9 happened. I was in obviously that rehab, but I wasn't supposed to be in there, but I did. And it was 6 months long. So you had to be there for 30 days to be able to watch TV. I was like 2 days away. And I lied to the staff member at night that night because like they would turn the cable on for us at night. Well, the big game that night was the backyard brawl. Everybody wanted to watch TV. Everybody wanted to watch football. So I luckily got to watch the backyard brawl from rehab, even though I lied about by 2 days being eligible to watch TV at 30 days. And would you know that not only did we lose the backyard brawl and did I cry in front of all these grown men, and I bawled for hours. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it. If you love West Virginia like I love West Virginia, you know what an opportunity for our team and our state that was that won't ever come back probably again. I mean, we'll be lucky if it ever comes happen again. The odds of it happening are so much greater now than they were then. So not only did I lie and get in trouble for lying about it and got my TV privileges revoked for the rest of the year, I didn't see another West Virginia game that year until the Fiesta Bowl versus Oklahoma. So, obviously I was pretty upset. And I think it holds a very crazy, special, weird place in a lot of our hearts. And I think that's nationally too. And for those of you that are new around here, I'm a very open and honest person. I'm just like that on purpose. Intentionally, as Neil Brown would say, I'm very intentional about how open I am. Because I want to build a connection with you guys, and I want you to feel like I'm not just some fake dude that's up here talking sports, like pretending like everything's okay. It's okay not to be okay, but we push on, we press on, like I'm dealing with a lot of things right now for sure, health wise and things. And I've done it myself, but we press on, right? I want to grow this into the biggest West Virginia channel there is. We've done a really good job of maintaining that during the off season. But we have contenders that are definitely trying to push us off that perch that have a little more subscribers than us. Don't necessarily get more views than us, but we have people that are definitely, are contenders. I don't want there to be any contenders. I want to be the best. however that looks, whatever that looks like. That's why I record 7 days a week to be the best. Um, it's definitely something I burn with passion for. I burn inside deeply, deeply to be the best at this. I know I fall short a lot, and I know that I maybe even embarrass myself at times, but I'm okay with that because I'm being myself, not being fake, you know? And also want some of y'all to see like it's definitely possible to pull yourself out of an impossible situation. So that's all. Hopefully the backyard brawl makes its way to Morgantown. I'll be super excited for that. We deserve it as a fan base. And like I said multiple times, the storylines that come out of that game are immense. They're amazing. They're a lot. All the way from you could bring Wanstead on, you could bring guys like LaShawn McCoy, like you could bring a lot of people on to talk about it. For the West Virginia side, you could have any myriad of people on, from Brad Paisley to even Nick Saban for the game. I mean, there's a lot of people that this game touched. And I think that the Pat McAfee story can be told during this game. As a matter of fact, that's what I would start with. I would start with Pat McAfee missing the kicks. If I was a producer for this chant for ESPN, I would probably start with Pat McAfee narrating over him missing these kicks and talking about the gut punch that it was, right? And have somebody write a really good script. And then and ESPN, I'm always available if you need somebody, by the way. But obviously from there, it turns into a little more of a hype video. But we haven't quite gotten back to this point. Does it start here? Does it start now? Does it start today with? And then that's when the Rich Rodriguez images start popping up. I think that would be the way to, like, I'm talking about as soon as the commercial break comes off from, and up next, it's the backyard brawl from Morgantown. I think you open the show with Pat McAfee voicing over the 13-9 game and what that meant for his life, how it changed his life. And then I think you get into what Pat McAfee's life looked like beyond that. Yeah, I think Eugene would do an interview, Raven. I love me. Actually, we were just texting last night. I have his number. So yeah, I could bring him on. I'm sure he would come on. The only thing I would question about it is I don't know if he and Skylar Callahan have like a promise to where they won't go on on other shows maybe, but yeah, I think he will. I think I've had him on before, as a matter of fact. I'll text him today and ask. That's a comment and a question, or a question in the comments for those listening on podcast. But so anyways, obviously there's a lot that you can do with this storyline. I've said it multiple times. This won't be the last time I bring this up. So let's hope it goes there, y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of Locked On West Virginia, y'all. You're everyday listeners. You're very important to me. Not everybody are like the 200 of you guys listening right now. Not all of you, I'm all of you are very special to me. Like you continually come back and support, and it means a lot. So thank you for being an everyday listener. And let's get this thing rolling, baby. Let's hope the brawl ends up in Morgantown, like I said. If not, it's okay. We'll watch it on whatever show it comes on, and we'll be there in gold and blue, ripping the freaking house down, buddy. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys. Make sure you check out Locked On Portal. Brian, he does a great job over there. You can be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to college football landscape today. Just find Locked On Portal wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in a couple hours. I'm sure I'll record again. Until then, I'm out.